Good morning, buenos dias, buongiorno. Today I'm going to talk about a minuscule particle that has massive effects on our ecosystem. I mentioned the one and only microplastics. They're everywhere. They're in our air, our water, and even in our blood. But before we start, what are microplastics? Microplastics are plastic particles that are less than 5 millimeters or 1/5 of an inch in length. We can find these pieces of plastic everywhere on Earth, in the ground, in our seas, in our air, everywhere. But why should we care? We have dirt particles all over and massive amounts of carbon emissions in our air. What makes microplastics so important? Commonly used plastic objects like water bottles or plastic bags, when end up in the ocean, are broken down due to constant exposure to UV rays. When they break down, they degrade smaller and smaller and eventually turn into a microplastic. While they're in a microplastic form, they are ingested by different sea creatures like fish and other crustaceans. While animals have plastic in their system, they are fished and eventually we ingest these animals, and along with their bodies, we ingest the microplastics. So what if we ingest plastic? It doesn't really matter, right? What goes in comes out. Well, microplastics, due to the constant exposure to the sun, turn into different chemicals like estrogen. These chemicals have a negative effect in your endocrine system, which is responsible for hormonal stabilization. It can cause an increased likelihood for breast cancer and lower testosterone in males. So now that we know the negative effects, how can we stop microplastics from being further produced and not add to the 578,000 metric tons of plastic already? This may sound preachy, but at the end of the day, it's been proven effective. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. If we reduce the amount of plastic that we use, there's less of a chance that it'll end up in a landfill where it is not being processed. And from the landfill to the ocean, we're cutting the ties for plastics ending up in the ocean. We can also be more savvy about the products that we buy. Buying polyester shirts that are made out of almost 100% plastic are more prone to eventually turning into microplastics. Buying cloth that is made from cotton, wool, or silk, while more expensive, overall aids in saving our ecosystems. We can also take a more physical approach by aiding different organizations to help clean up and remove plastics on lands and near beaches. And lastly, we can come together to make our voices heard to pass laws that prevent further degradation of our ecosystems. Individually, we may be small, but together we can make massive changes to make our home a better place.